Welcome, welcome, welcome. Everybody's comfortable? Everybody getting here? All right. Welcome to the digital sound site. I can remember back when the mini disc first came out. There were some callers using the medium and playing all of their music through the mini disc itself. It was small. It could hold 37 songs. Had the capability of looping, which is continually to repeat, as we do when we lift the needle off back on the. Had a lot of neat little items with it. Me as an individual, when the guys coming out with this and using this, I thought, wow, I don't think I want to do that. I like my records. So I had to come up with some way to justify that I want to get into using a mini disc. I wasn't really the person to be up with everybody else. And then I had to find some way to want to spend the money to do something like that. I came into a process where there were some older tunes I wanted to get, that because I had used them over the years, my 45 was not good. But the producers were maybe out of business or had lost the songs, and trying to get the records, very, very difficult. So my justification for buying this little mini disc came real fast, because when I could take my older tunes and record them and not have to, that's when I purchased the mini disc. Not only that, knowing that I could put 37 songs on this little disc and that with, I had a little bag that now I had the mini disc. I had 500 songs inside that same little bag. It was kind of neat just to do that. So my justification was clear, not only to me, to my. Well, I'm getting there. So then along came the introduction of possibly doing the same thing through a laptop. I really wasn't sure about that. They had the laptop, but I was using it for minor use, basically being able to control a numbering system so dancers could dance, at my dances and not just automatically up a rotation. So that's basically what I used it for, and then a process that I thought you could record your music. And I thought, well, this is pretty cool. So I put a CD and read through the CD, but I also know who did it. So I was on the telephone a lot. And all of a sudden, I started recording music through my laptop. And there were songs that I really never used anymore because they were scratched and so forth, as we all probably have those. But what really drove me to this was my dog. When I had gone out of town, I said, no more animals. When I came back, we had a new animal. And some odd reason, this animal got into my office. And I had a stack of records on the floor about this high. And this animal learned them somehow and destroyed them. I thought, wow. So through this whole process, until I got into the laptop, I had these records sitting on my back porch for obvious reasons. They turned colors. They didn't smell good. And then I thought, wow, could I retrieve over 100 records? And the answer is yes, I did. It was difficult because the substance became very oily. So no matter how much I cleaned it, they were still oily. But I could do enough to get them on the turntable, plop it down, retrieve the music into my computer, then go through the process that you're going to learn today to save 100 records I normally would have put in the garbage can. So my justification, another computer, really was backed, and I was in really good standing with them.
And that's another dog story.
And that's a true story. Last year I was a panelist on this same seminar, and I'm glad I accepted this job here. It was a joy sharing with all that attended the things that I have learned and music and so forth through the laptop, using different programs and so forth, and then being able to them through my laptop. And I enjoyed that immensely. This year I am the moderator, and I will now introduce you to your panelists for this seminar. Today we have Jeff Priest from Canada and Tom Lander from Kentucky. Jeff is going to speak on recording. Tom will then speak on sound equipment, new products available for digital sound. We will begin with Jeff. We will allow time for Q&A. And please remember that once you get to the microphone, if you have questions, I really would like for you to state your name. Make sure that you do use the microphone. And so that we can have this as a tape session, we want to have your questions, the answers, and the whole process recorded. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Jeff.
Thank you, Bill. Okay, I'm going to do this with a headset so that I can actually work the computer, not have to move the microphone away from my mouth and lose sound on the tape. One thing you need to realize is that what we're going to go through today, probably for a lot of you, is going to be very overwhelming information. It's going to be a big chunk of stuff off the bat on things that probably you don't really understand right at the moment. I made two general assumptions. First off is that you all have at least some computer knowledge, and second, that you all have either no or very limited digital knowledge. I do a full digital presentation for our associations back home that run half to 4 hours depending on questions. Bill has asked me today to look strictly at the recording process, which is what I'm going to do. That doesn't mean that you have to have a laptop to call with. It means that you use any of the digital medias that you'll hear about here today, but if you have a computer at home, you have the ability to do what Bill was just talking about. Take an older record, clean it up, and use it in another digital form. You don't have to be using a laptop. I'm going to go through a laptop presentation that'll take us about 12 minutes, and that's going to describe what I'm going to do when I record. And then we're going to go through all that in an actual live recording and show you how the process works. I don't know if we can get somebody at the back to kill at least these two lights. I know one of those switches will take them out. It might be a little bit easier for you to... Yeah. Okay. Can everybody see the slide? Okay, perfect. Analog versus digital music, should I change? Now, that's probably worded wrongly. It's probably, should I add, adjust, update, modify? The digital recording process, and there are a lot of websites. These two in particular I have found describe digital recording in very English. You don't have to write anything down. Everything you're going to see on a slide, you're going to get as a handout. You're going to get each copy of the slide that you're going to see, okay? Actually, the first website that's listed there, I have printed their sheet, and it is part of the handout. It's very small sheets, so. The whole thing? Okay. The website is https://art.music/tech_background/music/tee-music_background/tee-16-16.html. I like the second one, not short. www.highcriteria.com. When you get there, actually, the highcriteria.com is, they have a lot of information on that site, and they have a menu down the left That site is particularly more for professional digital recording. If you go to the left menu and you select Primer on PC Audio, it'll give you what you look at, our portion of what we're going to be involved in. In basic terms, our music, for the most part, because we are recording vinyl records, which is analog, PC, is only going to be digitally enhanced, not true digital music. However, now you can buy MP3s and you can buy CDs, which are true digital music. Right, so you can get those now, but if you're looking at taking your vinyl records and putting them onto a computer, they will become digitally enhanced music. You can clean them up, you can make them sound digital, but they're still analog. Going digital should be considered another tool in your toolbox. You can walk in and dance with a laptop and expect to call a dance and have nothing as a backup. The laptop crashes after the first hit, the dance is over, you can all go home. Always have a backup. It's just another tool in the toolbox. It's not the only source you use. And also understand it's a caller or cure convenience. This is not a dancer necessity. Your dancers where the music comes from as long as you have music and they can dance to it. And oh, by the way, if you walk to the computer and something happens, looking at the average age of our dancers, they're going to give you nothing but grief. Records work great for 50 years. Why do you want to change now? So those things when you're looking at it. Okay, let's look at a few of the basic terms. Understanding the terms. MP3. We all know what an MP3. MP3 is short for MPEG-3, which stands for Motion Picture Audio Layer 3. It's a technology that creates a sound file 1/10 the size of standard CD music files, and it has very little loss of sound quality. Typically, 1 is equal to 1 minute of music. That's assuming you've done it in stereo. If you do it, it's half that size. WMA stands for Windows Media Audio. It's used exclusively on Windows operating systems. It is also a compressed CD format. A WAV file. Click yes. A WAV file format was developed jointly by Microsoft and IBM as the standard format found on PCs. And a WAV file ends with the extension WAV. WAV files are the most common standard for recording audio in a Windows environment. Within the WAV format, there are a number of different compression methods that can be used, and all of these are available in Windows as plugins when you have the Windows operating system on your computer. It is recommended that when you record in a WAV format, that you leave your file in the original compressed state if you're going to do any editing. If you're going to record it and use it exactly as you've recorded it, save it as MP3. If you're going to do any editing to it at all, do not compress the file until it's completely finished. And the reason is once you've compressed it, if you start doing editing now, your edit is going to fit certain parts through. You may end up with skips. You may end up with high peaks or low peaks. So you'll always leave it uncompressed until you're completely done with it. On a store-purchased CD or even one that you make your own computer, the file extension will be a CDA. Have you ever put a store-bought computer or a CD into your computer? If you look at it through Explorer, you'll see that all the extensions are .CDA. It stands for Compact Digital Audio. The standard audio format to allow that file to be played in any player, your home, your audio, a portable, or your PC. Unlike MP3 or WAV files that can reside on PC, a CDA cannot. It is not a recognizable music file by operating a Windows system. So you have to have a converter if you want to put that file onto your computer. So you need an MP3 to CDA or an MP3 or a CDA to a WAV to convert the file to store it onto your computer. There are several converters available on the net. Audio Plus, that's the one I use personally. It's a very easy program to use. Alto MP3 Maker, PS Audio MP3 Maker, CD to MP3 Ripper, and Windows Media Player 10 for MP now also rips CDAs into MP3s or WAV files. Tools to play digital music. Well, you've got some options. What I'm going to discuss today is only recording on a Windows-based PC. I'm going to talk about a few other options when we're done here. The PC recording process. There are no hard and fast rules. What I'm going to demonstrate to you today works for me. It's a method I've used since 1999, and I haven't had too many problems with it, though there are always glitches with computers, so expect that. There are several pieces of software on the market today that are available that you can use to record songs into your computer. Adobe Audition and Goldwave are the two most popular. Adobe Audition used to be Cool Edit Pro. Cool Edit was bought a year and a half ago by Adobe, and they converted the program to Adobe Audition. It's still the same piece of software. There's SoundForge, Sonic Foundry, and Soundforge Wavelength. If you go in looking at the different programs, these are the 5 that will pop up most frequently, ones that seem to be purchased a lot. And they range in price from $55 to $400 plus. Depends on what you want to spend. To create a music file, you require a reasonably fast PC with a high-quality sound card. You must have a line in, not a mic input. If you don't have a line in, you need the ability to add an external, either USB or PCMA sound. And you can purchase those for laptops if you're going to use a laptop. You can get them at various stores, and as soon as I get to my notes here, I'll find out where. Circuit City, Staples, Shop, and Best Buy all offer external sound cards for around $100. If you use mic input only, you will have no bass control over your recording. All of your songs will be very dry, which will present you with some issues. I would suggest at least a minimum of DM3 with 512K of RAM. So if you're just getting into this, you don't have to rush to spend $2,000 on a brand new top-of-the-line laptop. When I first started using this process, I used a Pentium 266 with a 20 gig hard drive. Then I up to a P500, and now I've got the new one. But you don't have to buy a new one right off the bat. Once you determine if you really like the process, then you can go with it. Your hard drive size, how many files you can store, and really 30 to 40 gigs should be considered a minimum. This laptop that I'm using is a Pentium 4, 2.6 gig with a gig of RAM and 60 gig of hard drive. It is extremely sufficient to perform, and I do use it for all of my recording. Used to use my computer, I don't. I can, absolutely you can. Yep. Adobe Audition is the program we're going to look at. That's what I use for my recording process. What you will discover is the things we go through today can be done on any of those programs. The menu options will probably be slightly different, but they all basically function the same way. This program, if you have Cool Edit, was a software version out years ago, which you had. If you have any of those programs, you can go to the Adobe Audition website and pick up the upgrade for $69. If you don't and you want to go to Adobe Audition, you're looking at $299 to purchase the program. Winamp version 5 Plus, a couple of versions out there beyond 5, and Pacemaker 1.32 are excellent programs for playback. Essentially, if you had these two programs, you wouldn't need anything else to play or digital on your computer. Winamp offers you a playlist, which means you choose your program for the week, and every time you open up the program, you pop up your playlist, there's tunes ready, where you put them in the order you want to play them, and away it goes. One of the beauties with Winamp is that it also offers an equalizer, and you also have pitch and speed controls. Winamp is shareware. It's free on the internet. Pacemaker, however, is not free. It requires a payment of $9.90. It's worth it. You can use it without paying it, but you get a very annoying pop-up when it says you haven't paid your $9.90 yet. We appreciate your contribution. So it's asking $9. Windows Media Player also is good for playback. It has a playlist. It's free. It's included with all Windows operating systems, but it doesn't have pitch speed control. It does have an equalizer. Does it? Interesting, because I've got the XP version. Found it. Oh, the Pro. Okay. All right, so the Home Edition doesn't. Interesting. Music management. There are several very good music management programs available from our Square Dance suppliers and also from a number of callers who are or have connections with programmers. They all have solid merit and serve specific purposes. Just what you want the program to do for you and how much you're willing to invest in the process. What I mean by a music management program is that you have a single program that will store your database. It will hoedowns, your singing calls. You can put into it the label, who's doing it, level it is. You can have your hoedowns so that they loop or repeat as you would generally put back. You can put all that information in and store it so that when you open up that particular tune, it remembers everything you've already told it to do. That's not going to happen with Winamp, with Edition. Well, Adobe Edition, I'll show you something on this a little bit later that does help with that. But that's what a music management program is going to do for you. And eventually, if you get onto this, you probably buy a management program. Okay, how to record with Adobe Edition. When you open up the program, your general screen, you'll end up with this as a new files, a default screen. The sample rate of 44,100 is standard CD quality. That is the standard that opens up. That is the stereo or mono is your option. File size is bigger in stereo. Mono is half the size. I always record my tunes in stereo. I have found that when you're playing them through the Hilton or the other sound system, you have much better volume on a stereo recording when you go through both files. If you're limited on hard drive space, you can go with a mono, but also if you're going to do editing to the tune, you are far better off to work in stereo because when you're working the right channel, you have a different floor pattern. When you're working in a mono, the floor is at a different range, and if you're doing particularly any pitch changes or altering in that fashion, the floor tends to fall away. What I mean by that is that what you will end up with is an echo through your tune, and you don't want it. Well, if you have a tune that you know is going to require editing, absolutely record it in stereo work channels because you'll get much better control over the process. 16-bit resolution is the professional standard of the resolution that you want to play with. You can go with 8-bit, which you'll find every now and again that you make with something that sounds like a skip. It's not, but it sounds like a skip. If you go 2-bit, very, very clean playback, but your file size quadruple. Unless you've got lots of hard drive space, you don't want to go with 32-bit. So just stick with the standard default, come up on the, and then you select OK. Then you end up with this particular screen, simply a screen. You have to remember to click the little record button that the arrow just went to right there. You start as you're recording, you'll actually see it grow across the screen as it plays. Once you've got the recording, you need to save it as an uncompressed WAV file. This is what your recording will look like when it's finished. So once you've saved it as an uncompressed WAV file and you want to start your editing, then we're going to have a look at some options that we can do to it. And there are generally 4 basic options that we would want to do with our file. We want to adjust the volume. Remember that when you record, you always want to record on a lower volume. You can always bring the volume up, but you can never get distortion out. If you've recorded it too high at the store, it's yours, you own it. So always make sure that you record under and then do adjustments from there. You may want to look at click, pop, and hiss removal. And you may look at tempo and or pitch. And lastly, we're going to trim the tune to make it how we want to work with it when we get there. First, look at a volume adjustment. And we're going to go across our top menu, and we're going to go to the Effects option. Then we're going to slide down, and we'll go to Amplitude. Then we're going to get a new drop-down menu. We're going to select Amplify. Once we've got Amplify, it will open up a new window for us. And on this particular window, when we get here, we have some presets that we can use. Generally, a 3 decibel boost should be enough. If you need more, you can go to 6. If you need to record the tune, you haven't got enough volume to play with. So 3 or 6 is basically what you work with, and then you go to OK. The computer will do its work. When it's adjusting volume, it'll take about a minute, and that's about all it'll be done. Then we're going to go to Click Tops. Again, we go back to Effects. This time we go to Noise Reduction, and then we go to Click Eliminate. We get our new drop-down window, and we end up with our option here to select the preset. Generally what they've got here is they come with a bunch of different ones that you can use. Old record is probably the one that you're going to deal with unless you've got a really, really bad tune. If you've got a really bad tune, you can go constant hiss and crackle or hiss and lots of clicks. understand that when you do that, you can set that, go for dinner, go for a walk, and then back. Old record will probably take about the length of the time. If you've got a 4-minute song, it's a 4-minute correction. If you go with any of the others, you're looking at fairly extensive time. It's not to say don't do it. Just do those ones when you can go to let it work. Now we're going to record it with resave it with a new name, and I do this all the way along because this is a very forgiving program. You can undo anything you've done until you save it. When you save it, you own it. If you save it under different names, you only have to go back to certain stages. If you keep saving your original file, you're going to go back and re-record if you do the end result. So initially, you're going to take up a fair bit of space saving, but that's okay. We'll talk about that in a minute. Background hiss. Again, we go to effects. We're going to go to noise reduction. This time, we're going to go to hiss reduction. Once we select hiss reduction, we end up with a new screen, and we get to choose a preset. Now this particular program has 3 built-in presets: hiss, standard hiss, and high hiss. I added my own, old record 1. We're actually going to use old record 1 today when we use the recording that I'm going to demonstrate for you. Select the correct one that you want to use and choose OK. The computer will do its thing. Again, about the length of the song. Again, I've saved it with another new name. Now this one actually should really say no hiss and no hiss, because it's got both corrections made to it. But I still have my original code. I've always managed to keep my original recording until the whole thing's finished. This program will allow you to change the pitch and the tempo. We go to Effects, we go to Time Pitch, and we go to Stretch. All right, so once we've selected that, we get a new menu. And when we get that new menu, now we have some options. We go to Time Stretch, Preserves Pitch. We want to make sure we select high precision. We have our bar. We can either slide the bar, or we can key a number right into the ratio field, right? You know exactly what it is you want to deal with. You just key your number in. Then you select OK. You can backspace out of that. We'll show you that when we do the live recording. Okay? There are some presets there. When you look at the presets, and if you go with this, or any program that you do go with presets, play with the presets. The lower pitch is a full octave. The higher pitch is a full octave. So you're not going to go with that when you do your pitch adjustments, because they're pretty dramatic. They do funny changes. I had a Happy Birthday song that I use in my club, and I really didn't like the way it was done, so we used the program a little bit to alter it, and it's a lot better now, in my opinion. We can change the pitch and not the tempo. Again, we go to Effects, go to Time Pitch. We're going to go back to Stretch again. We're working in the same field of this program and everything we're doing, okay? Again, we end up with another menu. We want to select Pitch Shift, Preserves Tempo. Again, make sure you select high precision. There's your pitch bar. You get to slide it up and down, or you can key into the ratio field. And then go ahead and OK. And again, there's presets here, but generally you're not going to move anywhere near what the presets will allow you to move, or what they automatically move. So you really don't want to play a whole lot with them.
Jeff, during this process here, suppose you select that just as you have it, and then you've moved that bar up. Before you click OK, is there a way to hear what it's going to sound like previous? No, but one of the beauties of this is that once it's done, if you're not happy with it, you would simply go to Edit, drops down, you get Undo, and you undo it, and it's undone. And you just go back and process changing the value.
Yeah, in my experience using a similar program to this, I found that I go halfway. But each one of you will be different. But I go half as what they presets, and found it's plenty.
Yeah. Yeah. It's working. It wasn't working this morning. Okay, so once we've done all that, now we're finished with our tune. We've done our volume adjustment. We've done our tempo. We've done our pitch. Now we're going to trim the tune so that we can use it. Now, I always put 3 seconds on each end of it. I find that when I'm playing, I don't want to be messing with the computer or the mini disc or whatever I'm using. When the music starts, I want to be ready and looking at my dancers. So I give myself that 3 seconds. I know when I hit play, I've got time to adjust, get back in gear, and away. Same thing with the 3 seconds on the end. It doesn't just end, end abruptly. I know that just work out, and I don't have to worry about running back to the machine and stopping it. Now, there are some programs, and if you don't set up Winamp properly and you use it, if you don't set it up properly, it doesn't stop. It rolls right to the next tune. So if you've got 3 seconds on the end of this one, 3 seconds on the beginning of the next, you've got 6 seconds to thank your squares and realize that it hasn't stopped, and either turn down the volume off the machine. But it's not going to happen to you instantly. So I always try and put that 3 seconds on there. Again, we go to generate, we select silence when we do that, and then we end up with a new window that's going to pop up for us. When we get that new window, we get to key in a time. I use 3 seconds, as I say, and you key that in, and then you would select OK.
To also note to this, once he selects the silence, the number, every time you go back and you click on silence, it will maintain that number you originally selected. So
yeah, I've only in the 3. Yeah. And it stays there forever. Okay, so we're happy with the file. Now we're going to save it as MP3. All right, so once we've saved the final tune as an MP3, I generally buy it, and I always try and put the label in behind it. So when I look at my database, I know which tune I've. I'm sure we all have several versions of the same song, different labels. So when you do it that way, you know which one it is that you're looking at. What's next? Now you've got to delete or back up all those WAV files you created, because you've just taken up a whole lot of space on your hard drive. If you've got 3 or 4 or 5 WAV files, you won't get rid of them because they're all very large files. They're each 10 times the size of the final MP3. I generally keep my original recording. I figure my MP3 is the recording that I was happy with, but if anything happens to it, at least I've got the original to go back to start working again. What I usually do is save them. I have a DVD burner, so when I save them, I get enough of them, I just pop them all onto a DVD, and then I take them to the hard drive. But you can also put them onto CD. You can fit 18 full-size things onto a CD recorded in stereo without any problem. So once you've got your 18, back them up onto a CD, then you're not taking up your hard drive space. You've always got the CD to work with. And you're finished. Record the next tune. Sounds easy. Derek, you need the microphone. It's on tape.
Revenge can do, and I make sure I do this after I convert all my files and I'm happy with them. I have a set of CDs that are MP3s. They will not work in a CD player, only with my computer. But if for some reason my hard drive crashes, my computer crashes, I have got all those songs where I'm happy to them, and I have all my music, both personal and Square Dance, on 2 CDs, and have some a total of 2 days worth of music where it will not repeat. So it's basically a day of music, 24 hours of music on 1 CD when you save it. It just doesn't have to break.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I do back up everything that's on my hard drive. Actually, is another computer, which is sitting in the corner because this one's been acting up all. I really was going to get through this or not.
Doug Holmes from Ontario. Approximately how much time is invested in the total preparation of one piece of music from vinyl to the stage that you want it?
Once you get the process down, and it's going to depend, Doug, on every song that you record. If you've got a good, clean record and all you do is putting on the length of the record. If you've got a record that needs work, it depends on the amount of work it needs. I'm going to go through a record. I'm going to show you a record today, and I've chosen one that's particularly scratchy. This record is very old, and I'll tell you, it's very scratchy. It's been used a lot, and quite frankly, when Jim Lee recorded it, he had hair. That's how old it is. So, we'll get ready to record. But your recording process depends on the actual you're recording. So I can't give you a cut and dry time. If you're going to put you put straight into a mini disc, that's a different process because you can't do a whole lot other than put it in. I have also done with these, with the computer, I started with mini disc first, then I went to computer. But I put my tunes on the computer, cleaned them up, and then I set them in groups of 15 and blew them out to the main. They were all cleaned up when they got there.
Jeff, to give you a good idea, plan on 15 minutes per tune. And the reason I say that is every song is recorded at a different level, and you want to do it right the first time. So when you kind of fast on there, but then he's going to show you here, when he puts the needle on the first time, he may not have the volume set correctly, but he's still making adjustments in his computer. Then he'll go back and reset the needle, say, no, that piece of music, I don't want to save that, I'm ready to do a new one. So he wasted about a minute. So don't think you can do this in 4.5 minutes per tune, but it's not going to take you a half hour either. The other thing we're going to show you is, if you're going to go to the trouble of recording the song into the computer, you're definitely going to spend another 30 seconds getting rid of the needle noise at the beginning. There's no sense of recording vinyl into the computer if you're just going to take that and go play it.
Do that when I trim.
Okay.
I take that noise right out completely, it's gone.
But you want to do that.
Right. And I'm going to purposely show you on this because I'm going to put the needle on. I'm going to hit record and take my time to put the needle on. You can see where that needle noise is going to come from. And I got to make sure that the sound card is going to work. Well, you want? Okay, you can put it on. All right, so here's the default screen for Adobe Audition. When you open up the program, this is what you get. After welcome, hint of the day, and you can close that out. So here's our we're going to start off with new file. So we're going to select new file, and there's the window I showed you. The sample rate is 44,100. The default channels is stereo, and the default resolution is 16-bit. Generally, you want to stay with those. You don't want to alter those at all because they're the defaults. They're standard for the industry. So that's what you want to stay with. We're going to select record or OK. Now, remember to the next slide, we said now you got to go down and push this little red record button. So we're going to do that and then put the needle on, and hopefully it's going to start showing up something with any luck. We'll have a spot so we can go and cut that out later. Hear all your scratchy in there. Hear all that hiss. Okay, so once we've stopped, we hit stop when the recording's done. All right, so now we've got the bad part that we don't want here, and this actually wasn't in the demonstration because I wasn't planning on doing this, but we want to cut that out. All right, so all we're going to do is we're going to go to the middle point as opposed to the top point or the bottom point. If you notice, I got a little cursor that says right, and that R says I'm only going to affect the right channel in anything I do. If I go up, I get all. It says it's going to affect the left channel in anything I do. So I want to take the middle point, simply click with mouse, and I'm going to select that portion. Now that was the first part that we had that we were playing with volume, and as you can see, we started off with nothing, basically, and then we went and we got to where we wanted it to be, so then we start again. There's a key on the computer that says delete. Gone. That's it. So now we're left with a tune that we're going to actually work with. I'm not going to trim this at the end because I want you to hear that that hiss is actually gone. Here's the hiss. Can you all hear that? Oh, ta-da. Plugs. By the way, when you're recording and playing, don't have them both plugged in at the same time because you really get a whistle you don't want. Now we can do it. Up, up. There you go. Okay, you're up. Down. That's all the way through that entire record. Okay? All right. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to select the whole thing. There's various ways of doing it. The program is different. We can go to Edit, Select All. I like to just double-click in the screen anywhere. It selects our program. All right, so when we went and we did our volume adjustment to Effects, we went to Amplitude, we went to Amplify. We clicked that, we ended up with a new window. We take and we want to use any of the presets. Remember I said if we can use 3 or 6. If you go 10, you haven't got volume to tune again. We're going to try 3, and actually we don't really need to because this has got a good amount of volume to it. However, we'll see where it takes us, and that's not bad. We didn't peak out. If you go on the green lines on either the very top and the very bottom or the center line, if you're hitting those, you'll peak out, and actually there's things here that actually might peak out. But I'm not going to worry too much about it. They probably will. We'll see. Actually, the skip at the front. See the red dot came up. There we go. That's not bad. We can live with that. Okay, so we've increased our volume.
You hear it as the music was still playing, so you understand it's still going through the whole song. Great.
Okay, the next thing we did was what? We removed the hiss. All right, so we go to Effects. This time we're going to go to Noise Reduction. We're going to go to Hiss Reduction. Now, we said this program comes with 3 different presets. It comes with Light, Standard, and High Hiss. I created a record, which I will use in a minute. But I'm going to use the standard one first. We're going to find that it doesn't change a whole lot on this particular tune. Watch the front end. It just a little tiny bit. You see how much that went down? Okay, so when we play this, we still have this there. Okay, so listen to the quality of the tune. The instrumentation is still there. We haven't really destroyed anything, understanding it's an old record. And the instrumentation back then was different anyway, however. Okay, so we're going to go here, we're going to go undo hiss. Boom, it came back again. We've just undone what we did. As I said, it's a very forgiving program. So now you're going to go to Effects. We're going to come down to Noise Reduction. We're going to go to Hiss Reduction. We select that. We get our new window. This time I'm going to select Old Record. And what I've done here, all I did was I took their high hiss, and if you look at the values in these, and this was simply trial and error. I didn't know what I was doing. I just played with this thing. I created about 8 different ones before I found one I was happy with. I just changed the values in each of these boxes. And when I did that, it gave me a different level, which was your bass noise, which is the hiss that we're actually listening to. So let me do that one. All right, now notice the first one only took about 6 seconds. This one's taking a whole lot longer. Watch the front end. Okay, so let's play it. No hiss. What's the sound quality like? Pretty good. You just to restore all those old records.
Can you play that from the beginning again? I don't know if you guys heard the very beginning of that lead. Okay, but did you hear it like it was like a hollow sound? Hear that? I don't know if you're really paying that close attention.
Okay, so when it's right. If you look at the little blip before the music starts, that's where it is.
Now listen to the hollow sound as it starts to go through.
Understand that any modifications you make to an analog recording in the digital process has a definite effect on the recording. If you're going to alter something in the process that was done, you are going to alter the net result. What you have to decide is whether you want to live with the original recording or what you can create out of it.
One thing, I'm not sure whether your program has it. Can you did the piece called Old Record?
Yep.
Does that program have a sampling rather than a preset? The reason I ask that, all the programs have sampling, and so if you do it, you could actually sample that noise of that particular recording, and it would take out. And that's what I use. I use the sampling version. because every record is different, every hiss is different. Yeah. So I use the hiss from each record and sample it and take it out.
Yeah, that's a long process to do that.
Yes, it is.
For what you're doing, yeah. Yes, this program will do that if you take the time. You can get into any of the filters, and they will all work through that process. Yes, it can. Use Gold Wave, right? Oh, use Gold Wave, okay. Still? Cool.
Sure. Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
But what he's saying is
I was comfortable, too.
There's several different ways that you can use this. This is what he's designed for himself. You will eventually find a specific way to go as you mess with it. You'll find out that your time span is doing the question was, how long does it take me? Well, it depends on how perfect you want to get that to your. It depends on what you're satisfied with and what you're not satisfied with. All right. Those all alter into it. You can do one song, it can take you 5 minutes. You can do the next song, 30 minutes. Okay? Depends on what you've got to deal with. You have a pre-record coming off the press, sent to you in the mail, never been used, you're going to be doing a lot less work. Bam, bam, bam. Get 10, 15 of those, you can do them in a heartbeat. But you go back to the record box that you had up in the attic, and you bring it down. Those 10 records are going to take a little bit longer, maybe a lot longer, but at least the key is that you're saving that music. I have songs that, unfortunately, that I've gone back 20 years that I haven't used, and now I'm using them again. So, I mean, it's a neat process.
Yeah, for sure. There's no question. I mean, I've taken all of my records now, and now that I've computed in a fireproof steel cabinet. And that's where they'll stay unless I need to re-record them again. But I've got records that I wasn't able to use anymore because they were too scratchy. All you have to do now is get it to play once. As long as you can get it to play through once, you have a tune that you can use forever.
Take your Round Dance Cures records home with you and clean them up for them, okay?
Okay, there was two other things we went through in the presentation. Okay. The other thing we looked at was pitch and tempo. Okay, so we still have our tunes, and we haven't changed the whole lot. Actually, let's just select one little piece so we can the pitch change as it goes. Remember, we went down to effects, then we went to time pitch. Now we're down to stretch. All right, there's a couple of important things you have to remember here. When you're working stretch or pitch shift, either one, remember to make sure that high precision is selected. If it's not, you will end up with a tune that you don't even recognize. It alters stuff that's just unbelievable. Sure. So, yeah. All right, now let's...
The reason I'm asking Jeff to show us is because the neat thing about this program, and I'm sure others as well, as he's very forgiving. If you go in there and you do something you don't like it, you just go up and say undo, and bam, you're right back to where you started. As long as you don't save it, you can undo all day long. You can change, undo. You go right back to where you originally started. You can start undoing now.
Yeah.
Right back where we were.
This program, this will undo the last 20 operations you've done, as long as you have it saved. If you have it saved, you own it. It's yours. You can start again. But, I mean, once you've hit save, you can't undo any of the changes that you have made. They're stored forever. That's it. Okay? Okay, let's change the tempo on this. Absolutely. Let's make it fairly dramatic so that we can actually hear it. We're doing a tempo change on this, okay? See it squeeze it. See it squeeze it? Because we shortened the time that we're going to take to play it. Now, when you listen to this, but you notice it did not affect the pitch at all. It did nothing to the pitch. It's just the speed. That's right. Okay? All right, we don't like that. We're going to undo the stretch. Came back. All right, let's take that same piece that we've got already highlighted. We go to effects. We're going to go to time stretch. We're going to go to stretch. This time we're going to do low precision. Oh, because I'm doing such a short piece, it probably won't do it, but let's find it. We'll see what happens. Let's do it this way. it didn't do a whole lot to it. It didn't do a whole lot. But trust me, if you're working with a full tune, you want to make sure that high precision is selected. We're going to undo that to effect. Now we're going to look at the pitch. So we're going to go to time pitch. We're going to go to stretch. This time we're going to select pitch shift, preserves tempo. We want to make sure we preserve tempo. We'll select high precision. And I'm going to go high or low. Okay, more for low. We'll do low. Okay. All right, we'll take it back here so we change. Now again, understanding that whenever you alter it, you've lost, and if you notice, you lost the trumpets. They almost disappeared. You could still hear them, but they weren't as clear. Yeah. There you go. No, we didn't like that, so we'll undo that. All right, so we've got a lot of opportunities with this particular program. I've got 4 particular singing calls that I used to do when I was 13 years old when they were in my pitch. I haven't done them for a long time until I went this way. And then I put them on the computer and I altered the pitch, and now I can do them again, which is great because they were a lot of fun. The last thing that we looked at on the slide was, anybody remember? Trimming the tune. Getting rid of the junk on the front and the back. We don't have any junk on the back, actually, so we're going to add some. All we're going to do is we're going to go down the bottom here. We're going to slip very to the end. Notice my little yellow curve popped right to the very end. We're going to go generate, as we did on the slide. We're going to go silence. We have a default here of 10 seconds. I don't know why. I only want to put it in. All right, so when we select our 3 seconds, we select OK, and boom, there's your 3 seconds. No, I'm not sure. I have to use 10 seconds at some point in time. I'm not sure why. When I take off the front, that's what Tom was saying about you've got all the needle noise. Hear all that? I'm going to get rid of all that needle noise. Generally what I do is I take it right from the beginning of the tune. Now when you got this thing recorded and you have a full tune on the screen, it's literally from one side to the other. If you look at the bottom here, you got a little magnifying glass that does your plus and your minus. All right, we can expand the tune we're looking at, and we can expand it however much we want to expand it. We can look at minute sections of it. Now, you all saw how short the piece on the front really was, but when we do it this way, by the way, there's your needle skip right there, and that's going on the record. Okay, so you can do this very finitely when you want to do your final editing on it. I'm going to go right from the very beginning of the tune, just simply left mouse click in the middle of the tracks. I'm going to slide to the left. Now instead of hitting delete, I want to place 3 seconds of silence. So generate, we go to silence, and when I click OK, it's going to take that 5.3 seconds that's there, and it's going to convert it to 3 seconds of silence. And now I've got a tune that I'm finished with, and then we're going to do our final save. Through any saves. On the handout that you get, it is a handout version of the entire slide presentation to each of the steps if you choose to go with this program. If you don't, that's fine. All of the programs that do this type of stuff are the same. You'll have to look for the different menu options that you go through for the program that you use, but they will all offer you the same opportunities. And again, you don't have to be using a laptop to call to put your music on the computer. You can put your music on the computer at home and move it onto a different medium that you can play digital music from through your sound system. So don't think, I don't have a laptop, this isn't going to work for me. If you've got a home computer and you use it, then get involved in this process. I see a hand down the back. You got a mic down there? I'm sorry. We got a mic? We got a question back there. Oh, okay. You can still reiterate. It's a good point.
John Carlton from Texas.
Sure.
Can you get a skip out of an old record?
Yes, you can. It will take you a little longer, and you can get the skip out of the old record if there is the same basic 8 notes somewhere else in that record. I'm not going to show you how to do it right now. There is on this record. I have done it with variant 2s. What I will show you, though, if I can take another, I've got a hoedown on here, and I can just show you how the loop process works. Is that okay? No, let Tom go. Time it. You sure?
Yeah, Tom's going to have 30 minutes.
Okay. All right, we're done with this. Let me open up another file.
While he's in it, not only can you correct a skip, if it only has one pop, you don't have to necessarily go through the pop and crack filtering system. You can go to that one spot in the record.
Right on. You
can magnify it, and one little bitty line, you can have it 3 inches long if you want to, and just delete that out of there. And it's amazing. You'll miss it, but you won't.
Go ahead. You want to do questions? We got a face on that by the look of it.
C.R. Boyd, Indiana. You said earlier that to get it to play one time through.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't necessarily apply to them. You go in, and if you had a part of a record and tweak it to...
Yes. So if you have a record, if you have a typical singing call, in other words, not one that builds with crescendos, if you have a typical singing call and your middle break happens to be in really bad shape, don't record it. Record it through, and then take your opener or your closer and just cut and paste. And you can replace that section.
Be careful, you don't necessarily want to take 1/7 of the song and repeat it 7 times to make a singing call. It's going to get very boring.
Yeah.
You know, the producer spent a lot of money on putting instruments in there between segments.
No, that's what I say. You got to if you're going to do a cut, it has to be the same section that you're cutting and pasting, right?
Derek Page, I a lot with the computers, and one of the things I found that saves a lot of time is after I decided to switch over, I've bought CDs because in order to import the same file that Jeff is working with off of a CD, the computer will do it for you in approximately 5 to 10 seconds. So not even repeating the whole thing. And so I take the CD out once, put it in the computer in seconds, and I have a stack of CDs that are back in their little envelopes, all wrapped back up, only used once, that are in very good shape, so if I ever use them again, it's going to be a piece of cake.
And that's what we talked about at the beginning when I said if you have a CD, the extension is a CDA, which is not a recognizable music file, so you need a converter on your computer. Turn that to either a WAV or an MP3, and there's lots of them out there. A lot of them are free. Just go to the internet and download. Okay, got one in the back. 2 in the back. No. Went off. Happened again.
Johnny Drake. I have an older version of this same software. I believe it's Cool Edit.
Cool Edit.
2000. Yep. And I have a feature in it I didn't see you mention at all. When you have that leader at the beginning, that noise leader, I can highlight that leader, go in and tell it to load that profile, and then tell it to find
Thomas.
Oh, okay.
It'll do that.
All right.
It'll do that.
It's another way of just taking all that.
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Yes.
Norm Wilcox, Ontario, Canada. Can you demonstrate the cut and paste? What I'm concerned about is how do you preserve the beat of the record if you're going to cut it out in the middle? You want the thing to be invisible to the ear, so the beat thing.
It depends on how good your ear is.
That's right.
And
if we had an hour, I'd do it. But it takes time. You have to find the exact beat. I mean, if you're going to cut and paste, you've got to take time to find the exact cutoff point on both ends and make sure you drop it into the right place. I have done it with records, but it's not a quick process.
You must spend a half hour to an hour to do that.
Oh,
Understand that the time frame we've got, we're giving you basics to work with. There's a lot more to this program will do that we haven't even begun to touch the surface on. But we've got to share information with you. We've covered as much as we can. We want to look at the hoedown?
With some fancy software programs out there, you can use time codes to bail you out of some of those situations.
Yeah. Well, before we go on that, Jay has one question.
Okay.
Jay from North Hampshire. When you hook up your set to your computer, I got 2 Hiltons, and I don't care what set that everybody else has. What is to use? Does it matter? Does it take them all? Because the 2 sets I have a Hilton 500 and also a Hilton 75B.
It's preference. I have a Micro 100. I also have the MA 150, which we're using here today as a mic slave. I don't need a turntable with the amplifier, and because I use a mini disc as my backup, I don't need a turntable at all. I don't even use a Hilton at home. I have it hooked up to my home stereo. It goes into the computer.
Yeah, your 500 would probably be what I would, for me, I would port off the 500. If you have one, I mean, it's no question. It's all to record off.
And the 100 is also great. You'll find that even your home stereo equipment,
the 205 works just fine. We just use the 205 to do this today.
You're going to make some minor adjustments based on the card. You know, I've used tape machines. It doesn't even have to be talking records, but a lot of people are moving their tapes. So the source isn't really that important.
As long as you have a clean play out of whatever you use your source. And as I say, I have a home turntable hooked up to my computer, and that's what I use for my. And I don't use a square dance system. Yeah, either of your Hiltons will work just fine. Now, admittedly, 75 is not the best.
Oh, now
they really aren't the best for recording out, but if it's all you've got, it'll work. Okay, we've got a hoedown up here, and as I mentioned earlier, this particular program, if you only use this program and Winamp, you would be able to play your entire evening's dance without any problem. You can set up a number of tunes, open them. Understand that this program, when it opens it, it loads everything into your cache, and what happens is that sits in your memory. It will slow your computer down if you open up too much. Like a very powerful computer. Winamp, on the other hand, does not do that. Winamp gives you a list of names. It does not open the tune until you actually click on it and open the tune. When this one is open, it's sitting in your memory. I only ever used it for my hoedown portion because it has a loop ability. In other words, what I did was, you'll see no 3 seconds on either end of this tune. The reason is that this hoedown is short recorded. There are 9 beats or 12 beats gone off the front and 12 beats gone off the back. Maybe more or less, I've looped it so that it's virtually seamless. If you look down the bottom corner above the record button, you see a sideways figure 8. That is a repeat or a loop button. All right, I've put the cursor back here at the end so we don't have to listen to the whole thing. But when you play, watch the bar, and you'll see when it actually changes. I've purposely done something to this. Listen up. Oh. That wasn't very seamless, was it? It would seem to me that there must be something here that we need to look at. So, we'll explain this a little. And if we go to the end, a little bit more. It doesn't take very much to cause a blip. Oh, look, we have a blank space there. And we're going to catch that right there. We're going to hit delete. And I know, just for the sake of time, we'll go back to the beginning, and there's 2. We'll take that right there at the very beginning. We'll hit. We'll close this back up again. Out. Now we'll play it. Watch the bar. You won't know when it changes. Anybody hear it? You have to find the right spot, though. And that you can't do that in 30 seconds. There are some you can. There are some hoedowns that don't give you that opportunity. Change the instrumentation in the last 64 bars so that you can't do that. However, you can make it so that they will work for you. All right, but there are some like this one that you get absolutely seamless. Up to you. Any questions?
No more. Okay. Now we're going to
Are you overwhelmed yet?
we started.
He says I'm going to repeat it before I start into anything. You don't have a laptop to start this process. Okay? You really don't have to have a computer to start this process yet. You know, digital means something other than vinyl. You can start with simply a inexpensive Walkman and buy CDs. Okay? Let's crawl before we run. Okay? It behooves you to have a computer and get one. Okay? You can buy a standalone CD burner to move your stuff into CDs. They're very expensive. They're very hard to work with. They have very few options, and the CDs cost more. You can buy a very inexpensive CD burner for your computer if you don't have one, less than $100. At Best Buy, $79, has all the software you need, all bells and whistles, then you'll learn before the next session we have. Okay? So under $100, you can be in business. Okay? Doesn't take long to operate one.
You say that on here so that we can get it for the tape, please.
Mel Leiter, Lexington, Kentucky. Can you use digital tape recorder to tape your vinyl records and then feed that in the computer command? Does that quicken any of this up?
No, you're actually wasting your time.
Yeah, I'm curious to know why you'd want to use a DAT recorder. Do you have a DAT recorder? I mean, that's when you hook that into your computer, that's going to be the same as actually hooking your turntable into your computer.
Yeah.
Basically, for the content of what you're going to do with it. I guess the only thing you would save yourself time on is if you had a half tunes in one stretch of tape and just let the thing play and then do your breakup. Now you still have to spend the time to put on the DAT tape.
Okay, let's just start out small. You get the CD burner for your computer. Okay. Most of the software is free, downloadable. A lot of the websites you can go to, obviously on docido.com, go to there's tons of that stuff. If you go out there and just search on the web, you're going to find all kinds of MP3 information, download information, digital transfer information. It is overwhelming. Talk to somebody that's already doing it. Let them give you some pointers as to how they got there. This guy is an expert, you can tell by the presentation. He's got it down to a science. Okay, now, busy right emailing him, sure, or whatever, but talk to somebody that's already working on some of this. Don't go out and spend, like I did, weeks and weeks and weeks, and found out there was a CD that had it in as I was up and running. You can do that. That's okay. That's okay. You can do that. Now, I use some of this every day, but I'm in a unique situation, not only as a producer, but manufacturer of records and CDs. We use this every day. When we first started producing CDs, I won't even tell you how we made them. I mean, the quality, if you bought some of them, you know. But today, they're just, you know, we've finally got to this point, okay? So from vinyl to tape to CDs to MDs, MP3s, and now laptops. That's a whole bunch. That's a long way in less than 5 years, okay? We're not expecting you to get there tomorrow, okay? Take it a piece at a time. If you want to find, don't buy and order all this stuff and go after it. But yeah, if you can get used, you know, your buddy's probably got one. He's ready to go into a new one. Get his. Okay. You can take the music off of it first, but you know, get his. We're talking digital. Remember your source. Okay. Most of it is vinyl today. Vinyl's still going to be around a long time. You're aware of that. We've told you years and years, vinyl's going to be pressed for a long time. There's more vinyl being pressed today than there was 5 years ago. Not just in the square dance world and the rap world, but the regular country music and pop. 10-inch and 12-inch is making a big comeback. United Pressing in Nashville spent $1 million last year updating their equipment. So that source, that form, that media is going to be around for a long time. CDs is on the bandwagon. It's coming along real good. MP3s, thanks to mainly Bill and his persistence of getting the software done correctly and made available to everybody. MP3s are now available. There's over 1,000 of them legally available to download. The licenses are paid for. The copyrights are paid for. There's over 5,000 downloads done last year legally. There was probably several thousand that weren't done legally. And all I can tell you there is buyer beware. Folks, we have to protect our music, and we have to protect our music sources. And it's the folks in this room to do that. Okay? Enough said there. As far as equipment, MDs are gone. Sony has quit making every MD model except the B100, and they can stop production on that one. You cannot buy a console model anymore. You can't buy an MD recorder with a wireless remote anymore. They quit the entire production. That tells you something. Okay?
Are they still making the minis?
They're only making one 707, the 700 series. I'm told you probably won't see those next year. They're gone.
Glad I got the 7 I own.
They pulled everything out of production. The nice combos they have, nice MD combos, history.
What about the discs?
A few of the other companies are still making discs. I don't know whether I have not been told by my distributor whether Sony is going to continue to make discs or not. I'm guessing no.
Wow.
Gone. Every MD in the Sony product line is gone. So that tells you something, okay? Now, that doesn't mean you can't continue to use them. They're great. You know, use them for years. CD players have been around a long time. They're still around for a long time. Laptops are becoming more and more popular and less expensive. A lot more expensive. With burners installed, everything in there, okay? That doesn't mean we'll all run out and buy one. They are getting to be very nice. They're very convenient. Obviously, your computer at home is convenient to download software and everything, but it's nice to take the laptop to your dance room software. We're in a situation now, about you and me, I've got the CDs, I got the DVDs, I got the records, and now I'm getting ready to carry a laptop to my dance. Okay? I'm one of these guys that I really don't want to go one way, and so I'm carrying all of it. Now, I'm not carrying every song on every format to my dance. I'm not doing that, but I am playing with all of it. I still haven't really found out where I'm comfortable. I guess I'm still most comfortable with vinyl. And
I carry a MIDI player and focus with my laptop.
Yeah. That tells you that
always.
The laptop may be the future. It's not the answer today. Okay, keep that in mind.
As we started, it's just another tool in the toolbox.
Right. You may think about when you record, do it in stereo. Yes, it takes a little more room, but I have found, and I do this day in and day out, regardless of the recorders that we use, the left channel and the right channel will record differently. Take advantage of both. It's not going to take up that much more space. It's not very expensive to buy a wire on the end of your plug. It's worth it. You're going to get much more music, a much better sound. In fact, if you have time, you can demonstrate about there. Software. He touched on a couple points. There's a lot of them out there. When I say software, I'm talking about programs that help you do your dance, program your dance. They've got them with cue sheets on there. They've got them with call sheets on there. They've got them with the programs, all your CALLERLAB programs. They've got them with choreography on there. Okay, shop around, look at them. And I know I'm going to get some of them. Big Cedar has one. Dave Wilson has one. Squareview has one. Digital Music Musician. There's lots of them. Okay, you've got to shop around, look at them, go through all the demos, talk to people that are using it. Just because this guy is using it isn't going to make it necessarily right for you. Okay? some of them are so complex that I can't get past the first screen. Okay, so you've got to look at them.
What that he's talking about are different types of players that folks have created to do exactly what we do and play our music.
Right, that's the music management program.
What happens is that some of this stuff that you may see of the stretching and all that in order to change pitch is not necessary within the original recording. You just pop it in, and if you change the pitch, you hit a button with the player that you're using, and the pitch has changed, and the speed has not. They have these options built in to these software. Okay, so that's another thing to think about, where it loosens up to your time of taking and doing this waveform and changing the pitch within it.
A couple of other things that are in the works now. You're seeing more vinyl produced, as I mentioned earlier, but you're seeing more square dance vinyl produced. You're seeing more CDs produced square dancing. You're seeing more MP3s available in square dancing. So you have choices. Okay, there's a lot of it out there, and quite honestly, the reason you're going to see more of the formats is it's still costing a lot of money to produce that song. And the producers are recognizing that they've got to make it available in as many formats for you as possible to recover their cost. Okay, so buy what you need. You also need to tell some of the producers the format that you like most, so they know which that they're doing that for you. As far as playback and what have you, you talked about Hilton's, which you use. Same with your system today. They're improving. I know Yak just finished redesigning the speakers for Yak systems. They now have about 50% more bass boost to them. Your music is going to sound different than it did before. It's going to sound fuller. Okay, so when you're doing these changes in your computer and you're doing the filtering, be careful. You're going to hear things you've never heard before. Okay.
But now these are on the newer ones.
On the new ones.
Okay.
Right. The 2005 model system that came out. Much better sound, and basically we're missing some of the sounds. We now have the technology, okay, to record it. But keep in mind, a lot of the music that's recorded today, we can hear the human, okay? We can hear it. And thank goodness some of the stuff when he got ready to record that a while ago, had he went, not just the fact that it would have been too loud, but had he got that past the graphs, okay, despite the distortion, there was stuff up there we couldn't hear anyway. We don't need that. It takes time for the computer to fix it anyway, so he made a good point. Keep it as narrow as you can when you're recording. And I'm being hard at.
Turn them off. One thing I didn't mention, and I probably should have mentioned, when I do the recording process, I set all control straight up. Because you can make your adjustments either with your amp, your dance, or if you're using a music management program, you have the opportunity to use an equalizer within the program. So you can set your equalizer on your laptop, have it play you want. If you do all your adjustments on your amplifier when you're recording, I use my home stereo to record in, I have the thing completely flat. I don't mess with the tone controls, but I have control over the tune, because if you've altered the tune that you're recording already, it's very difficult to make your adjustments on it when you want to do any major adjustments to the actual tune.
Just one last note. I'd like to say that what you do, if you decide to go this route, time is involved. But anything worth doing, time is involved. And it's a difference between quality of music. I just give a nice hand to Jeff and Tom.